Hello, welcome back to Reading Success Academy. I'm Paula Smith. In this lesson, we're going to break apart a longer, maybe unfamiliar word for students at a third or fourth grade reading level. So if you'd like to participate in this, just follow along, grab a piece of paper if you'd like. I do these every day, Monday through Friday. So if you want to keep a journal of the words and then go back and review them, you can use them as spelling words, you can use them as vocabulary words, but the best benefit is to be able to start to see some of the groups of letters working together to make one sound that maybe you haven't thought about before. All right, let's get right over to our word. Today's word is endeavor. Now, let's assume that you didn't know what this word was. Here's a strategy that you would use to figure it out. So we're looking at this word and we're actually going to start with the end. We're going to start with the end in mind here. We're going to look for special endings. And if you don't know what a special ending is, make sure that you watch one of my earlier lessons. I think it was like last week I did one on shun and shus and chur. All of those are endings of words that don't sound out just right. It's a cluster of 4 to 5 letters, and after you get the idea of which words or which groups of letters make those special endings, you'll be able to identify them very quickly and know what's happening at the end of the word before you even start, which is a nice shortcut. Now, this word does not have any special endings in it, but we're going to move on to our next step, which is to look for 2 or more letters that work together to make one sound. Now, a lot of people will call them vowel teams, digraphs, or maybe trigraphs. There are all these different terms for it, but no matter whether it's consonants or vowels, it's a group of letters that make one sound. That's all you really need to know. You don't have to have a special name for them. All right, so what I'm noticing here is that I see EA in this word. A lot of times EA works together to make one sound. EA can be a long E sound, like in stream. It can be a long A sound, like in the word great. And it can be the A sound, like in the word bread. Another group of letters that I see, OR. Now, they don't always work together. And same thing with EA. They don't always work together, but most of the time when you see them right next to each other in a word, they do. So you want to be aware of that. So these two could be working together to make an sound, like in word or world. So we're going to try an when we get there. And then if it doesn't work out, we can always separate those and say v or vor. All right. I don't see any other groups of letters that make one sound, so I'm going to start sounding out the beginning of this word, and I'm going to sound it out until I think I have a chunk. Now, a chunk is part of a word that has one vowel sound in it. So let's get started with that. We're going to say and that sounds like a chunk to me. I'm going to draw a line right down here to separate it from the rest of the word. So we have and, that's blended together. Now we're going to start over again sounding out. We're not going to try and blend into the next sound yet. We're going to make the next chunk. So we have and then we have ev. Now, if you had tried a long E sound here, not knowing that it was going to be an A sound, that's okay. Try that. In fact, let's do that. Let's pretend we didn't know this was going to be an A sound and we tried long E, because that's very, very common for this spelling. So we could do and, eve, then we'll blend those 2 chunks together, and eve, and then we'll put on our at the end, endeavor. Well, that doesn't sound familiar at all, right? So that's when you would want to change vowel sounds. You always want to change vowel sounds first. Vowels are way more common to changing sounds than consonants are. And so if you tried a long A sound, that's the next common sound that you would try for this. Endeavor. Okay, still not a word that's familiar, and that's when you change it to endeavor. So you have to go through some problem solving steps through this, and that's okay. Take your time, try different things. It's a lot more strategic and a lot faster than trying to guess what the word is. which is what a lot of kids like to do when they're trying to learn new words. They'll look at the first letter, they'll look at the end letter, and just throw something out there. They might just say either, maybe because the beginning letter and ending letter match that word. All right. Now, a little point I want to make about how I've broken this word up. I've grouped together the two letters that make one sound for a reason. Because when it is time to spell this word, we're going to need to have some visual clues to remind us when we have two or more letters that make one sound. Now, we'll use those groups, but you could also change colors for those groupings. And then I always use straight lines between the chunks. Now, is there more than one way to break up this word? Absolutely. I just blended it together as I thought that I had a chunk. Now, we are not following strict syllable rules here. You might be looking at that and say, oh, well, that's not how syllable rules go. That's not what we're doing here. We're sounding it out until we have a chunk. We're not trying to follow any rules because you know what? The rules in our language only apply about 70% of the time. Use what you know and then change things as you need to. So maybe you had just sounded it out to here and put your chunk line in. That would be okay. So maybe you said an, d, ev, dev, and then blended those chunks together, endeavor. That's okay too. You still get there. You just want to make sure that you have one vowel sound in each chunk. Don't try to put two vowels in each chunk. One piece at a time. You don't want to do too many sounds at once or it gets all mixed up and it's hard to blend it back together again. All right, that's all I have for you. Oh wait, we didn't talk about what this word means. Endeavor, we should always know what our vocabulary words mean, right? Let me clear this off. An endeavor is a serious and determined effort, usually toward a goal. And you could use it in a sentence like this. She made an endeavor to learn a new language over the summer. That is something that I would like to do too. Endeavor. So she took on a big task, a very serious commitment toward a goal. All right, see if you can use the word endeavor in a sentence of your own, whether it be today or just sometime this week. If you have a great example sentence, send it my way. You can message me at hello@readingsuccessacademy.com and send me your example sentence. I'd love to hear that. If you enjoyed this lesson and think that you could benefit from it in the future, make sure that you hit the subscribe button so that you are alerted when I come on live next. You can always go back and watch the recordings, but I love having people join me live too. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye.